Hi there, Heather Steves here, and today I want to share with you some fun ATC cards I made using the new Remember Moments collection from Elizabeth Craft Designs. So I started out with the new coffee dyed papers from Devid, and they have these lovely pre-printed cards on them. So there's 2 sheets of each, and I cut them all out using all the different dyes from the ATC collections. My next step was to ink all of the edges. So I grabbed my darker brown ink and I inked all the cards and the bases. And then to make sure that the backs of them were inked as well, I grabbed my bone folder and I just kind of rubbed it along the edges of all of them just to get rid of that little bit of cupping that happens when you die cut some paper. Then I attached all of the fronts to the bases so that I could go ahead and just start decorating them all. So for my first card, I used this lovely frame that I created from the Journal Sleeves Fillers 1 die set, and it is a 2-piece die that you cut out the big oval, and then you add the little oval in the middle to create it as an actual frame. So I just glued this directly down to the center of my card, just making sure that it is centered nicely. It fits very well on the card. And then I grab my balloon and I'm just going to attach it down kind of in the middle of this frame. I like that it hangs over. It looks really neat like this. So for my next card, I cut out this frame using the film strip die from the Remember die set. So it's actually 2 window film strip, but I only wanted 1, so I just trimmed it down and then I'm attaching it to my card just slightly askew. Then I stamped and die cut this camera from the Around the World set. And then I'm grabbing one of the phrases from the new Travel Phrases stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp that down, and I'm going to use those words and cut them up. So that's why I'm stamping a couple of different sayings, because I'm going to piece them together in a different order. So this stamp is pretty cool. It comes with quite a number of different little word sayings, and it's pretty neat because you can just trim them up like I'm doing here and trim the words off separately and then piece them together in a different order or in the same order but just separately. So that's basically what I'm going to do on a lot of these cards, is just use this different words and just put them in different orders onto my ATC cards. So I thought that they would just look really cool here, placed kind of haphazardly onto the card, and then I'm just moving that little camera around, and then that will finish off this second card. But I'm going to go back to my first card because now that I've added these little words, I thought that was pretty cool and would look really nice on the first card as well. So I just stamped a few more of those words, and then I started to add them to the balloon. So you see me just playing around with the placement of these on the card, and I ended up settling with them being closer together. They just look much better and feel like they belong together when you place them relatively close together like that. And then that finishes off this card, and now I can move on to this next card. On this card, I use this tiny film strip. It's also from the Remember set, and then I also chose this lovely flourish from the Journal Sleeves 1 die set. So I've just inked them up and playing around with the placement there, and I'm going to start to attach things down to my card. So luckily I actually remembered to put some double-sided adhesive on that little flourish, so it was a lot easier to put down. And I just grabbed this little tiny hello word stamp from the first ATC special. And then I'm just attaching some off-white card to the back of that film strip, and I'm going to stamp that little word hello into that opening. So it works out and fits really nicely in there, and then I can just attach that to my card. So my next card uses one of these beautiful circles from the Romance die set, as well as the globe stamp and die from the Around the World set. So this little piece is actually the bit that fell out when I cut that film strip on my last card, and so I just stamped the word hello on it again. And then I realized that I wanted my little circle to be darker so that it would stand out better on my card. So I just went over it again and again with my ink, and it stands out much better now. So I just played around with the placement of the pieces on the card. Once I settled on them, then I just attached them all down with my liquid adhesive. Once they were all attached, then I just flipped it over and trimmed off that medallion and then inked up the little cut edge, and then that card was all done. So for my next card, I prepared the little camera from the Remember die set. So I cut it out twice on the colored paper, and then I cut the backing just on some off-white. So there's a few different ways that you can assemble this depending on what pieces you added, but I wanted to use some acetate, so I just traced out that one little circle piece onto the acetate, and then I'm cutting that out. So the base for the camera actually has some lines on it, as you can see from the die sitting there, and so I used that as my guide, and I just added some liquid glue to that, and then I put my acetate on there. So it just makes it a lot easier when you're assembling this little camera so that you can see where everything goes. So I just attached the one kind of base of it, the frame of it, onto the base, and then I took this extra circle and I'm doubling it up. So I'm just inking that up. I want it to stand out, so I inked it up so that it would be a darker color, and then I put in the one layer, and then I put the second layer on top of it. So now the camera cuts out a bunch of these tiny little circles. So one of them is supposed to be in the middle of the lens, so like a lens flare, I guess, kind of thing. So again, you can see where it's supposed to go because the base has that circle embossed in it, and then I'm just adding these other little pieces same way. So I just ink them up so that they're a little bit darker so they stand out more, and then I just add them to the camera. So also on this card, I'm going to add this circle, which is from the page fillers set. So again, I remembered to put it on some double-sided adhesive, so it makes it a lot easier for me, especially when it's so fine. And again, I'm going to have this hang off the edge. I like the way that that looks, and it gives me just a little bit better feel for what I want on my card. So I just trimmed that off, and I'm inking it up, and then I'm going to attach this little camera down, and again, I'm going to add some words to this card. So I grabbed this little phrase set, and I only want the one word off of the end, the adventure word, so I'm just inking that up alone and then stamping it. So just remember, you don't always have to stamp your whole stamp. You can just stamp the part that you want. So now that that's all trimmed up nicely, I can just ink those edges and then attach those words down to my card. And now that those are down, I have to remember and attach my camera because it's not attached yet. So I just add some adhesive and I stuck it down, and that card is now finished. So for this next card, I cut out the other circle from the romance set. So this time I used some kind of brown cardstock and I've inked it all up. And then these other kind of scallopy circles, they are from the classic ATC set. So they are full circles. I just didn't cut out full circles because I knew that I wanted to hang it off of the edge of my card anyway. And then I love that little ATC die. That is also from the classic ATC set. And now you see me attaching all of the pieces down. Some of them do hang over the edge of the card, so I'm just trimming those up. And then once I've done that, I just ink the edges to make sure that everything looks the same, and then I can attach my little ATC, and I am all done. So for my next card, I'm going to use this fun little airplane. So it is from the Remember set. And as you can see just in the top left corner there, the die is like a one piece. So I ran it through twice using two different cardstocks. First I used like a brushed silver, and then I used just a dark brown. And I'm just inking up all of the little pieces, and then I can start to assemble them. So I decided to go ahead and assemble both of them because I wasn't sure which one I was going to like. So they are quite easy to assemble. You can see the lines on the base piece where all of your little other pieces go on top. So it makes it very easy to put everything together. So now that I have them assembled, David showed us a little trick with a marker. So I'm just testing out a marker on both of the different colored cardstocks to see what works. And basically you just run a little line along the bottom, and it just adds a little bit of detail and helps give a bit of definition to your little airplane. So in addition to the line, I just added a little bit of extra color on the wheel as well. So in addition to the airplane, I cut this fancy little swirl from the journal sleeves fillers, and I'm just inking that up, and then I'm going to attach it to my page. So once I had that attached down, I felt like I still needed to add something else. So I pulled out this little strip that I had from the journal sleeves die set, and I didn't really like it, so I ended up cutting another one of these flourishes, and I inked that up, and then I thought it looked really cute when you put it like right side by side. So instead of kind of putting it on either side of the card like brackets, I thought it looked much better when I put them like that together. So I still felt like I needed to add something. So I had this little compass that I'd already stamped and die cut. I thought it might work, but I wasn't really feeling it. So I pulled it out and I thought I'm just going to attach this airplane down, but the little pieces kind of stick over the edge. So I thought I'm just going to trim them off. I don't think it makes that big of a difference to the look of the plane. So I just did that, and then I attached the airplane down, and then I'll figure out what to do next. So again, I thought I would put some words on it, but I also thought I'd try like this circle that I had, and I didn't like it. So I just grabbed out the travel phrases stamp, and then I stamped another phrase or two so that I could cut some more words and just continue along with the theme that I had been doing already. So you'll notice when I'm adding words to these cards that I typically am sticking with 3 words. It's always nice to work in odd numbers when you're working in design projects. It just has a better feel on your finished artwork. So I'm just adding these 3 words to this card, and then another card is finished. So for my last card, I cut out this really pretty piece from the classic ATC set, and I had put some double-sided adhesive on it, so I was just pulling out all of the little inside pieces and then inking the edges of this piece so that I could stick it onto my card. So I had a little bit of an idea what I was going to do, but I hadn't fully planned it out, so I knew that I wanted to add this piece to the card at the bottom. So I just peeled a little bit of the backer off so that I could attach it where I wanted, and then I pulled the rest of the backer off, and that helps me to line it up and get it nice and straight. So I grabbed this pretty little floral branch stamp from the classic ATC set, and I stamped it on some off-white cardstock, and then I die cut it out, and then I inked the edges. I think I may have overdone it with the inking, but I didn't want to use the card being so white, so bright, but I think I overdid it a little bit. So I decided to just leave it and move on. I stamped the word dream, and then I cut it out and inked it up. I knew it was going to fit really nicely on this little banner piece because I had tested the size with the word travel. I decided I was going to change the flower, so I grabbed that floral branch, and this time I just stamped it onto a darker kind of brownish cardstock, and I cut it out to see how that would look on my card. This time I was a little bit lighter with my inking, and I actually ended up inking it with my blending brush from the back, and that worked much better. I was much happier with the way that this looked on the card, and so I went ahead and I attached that branch down. I just trimmed off a little bit at the bottom so it would sit nicer, and I attached my word on there, and then this card is finished as well. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and as always, have yourself a wonderful day.